I've been looking for a house with no walls or no whispers, no hiding places, no secret sister. Been looking for a house that won't shelter a lie, no tear-stained past or reason to cry. I wanna live in a house of love.
Today we are with Michele McKeon in Empowering Women Everywhere, and she is the Chief Operating Officer of RECAP, which is the Regional Economic Community Action Program. How are you?
I am fine. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, and everyone wants to find out about what you do at RECAP, and you're the Chief Operating Officer.
I am, yes.
And so you know all about the good programs they have.
I do. My staff knows much more, but yeah, we run a pretty comprehensive program and shop for our residents in Orange County, so we're really proud of the work that we do across the county. Our tagline is, if you look at our logo, it's a circle with hands kind of meeting horizontally, and our tagline is, we want to give you a hand up, not a hand out.
Right.
And I think that's really important to help people. We were trying to do, you know how the Newburgh Brewery does their celebrity bartending,
right,
which is just wonderful. So there's a brewery in Middletown, and we figured our main headquarters is in Middletown, let's go connect with them, this is going to be great. And their question to me was, first of all, we were not the type of people they wanted to work with. That was the first piece.
Oh my Lord.
They didn't want the anti-poverty folks in the door, but I was asked very pointedly, well, don't you think you enable those people to stay poor by providing them services?
Oh my God.
And I was flabbergasted, and not often am I speechless, but I was speechless, and
it just shows a lack of complete knowledge.
And empathy and understanding,
right,
and all of those things. And I decided at that point, I will never come here again. I will never set foot. If that is your business thought process, I don't
You know, it
want
goes
to.
even further than that, because what comes around goes around, and our generous Lord, He says, well, if you lack understanding in one area, I'll let you experience that so you can understand a little better. So they're just opening the door to have the same thing happen to them.
I know. And then, of course, I turn the other cheek, help educate them, give them information.
Yeah.
Maybe they will be blessed and enlightened. That has not happened thus far. We're still hoping. But the phrase "those people" is really difficult to hear, because people know who you're talking about when you're talking about those people.
Well, those people are all of us. Because if one of us doesn't have enough to eat,
all of us
don't have enough to eat.
Absolutely.
Those services then serve the community. So our Fresh Start cafes, we have one in Newburgh, we have one in Middletown, and we're opening a third in Middletown, which we're very excited about. And it's a program where if you are unemployed or you're recently released from jail or prison, you can be trained in this program. So you begin at our 280 Broadway Cafe, and you learn the basics of food service and soft job skills, how to interview, how to dress, how to show up on time.
Right.
And as you learn, you also learn to cook from some really amazing chefs. And then you graduate to our next program, which is the one that works out of Middletown.
Okay.
And that's our catering facility. So we cater for our Head Starts, or we cater for organizations who need to feed residents, and they learn business acumen from that program. And then our finishing school, is what we're calling it, will open in conjunction with a new housing project that we're doing on Mill Street in Middletown. And that will be kind of the nuts and bolts business, how to run a small business for those who have gone all the way through the program. And I have to tell you, we're so proud of the progress from day one to day end, that we are helping people move through their community and then give back as a small business owner, or they go to work at one of our local restaurants as a chef or a sous chef or something like that. So it's a win-win for our community, and that's what we're most proud of.
I actually met someone who had I don't know how he had gotten into jail or whatever, and he had been released and went into your program, and he was just so grateful that he had gotten another chance.
Yes.
That he ended up volunteering for you guys.
Absolutely. And, you know, everybody makes a mistake, some more serious than others, but we would all like somebody to give us a second chance, right? So
definitely.
It's how we present that second chance to somebody. And if we can do it with respect and with dignity and a pathway out of poverty, that's really important. So we want to make sure that our services are meeting people where they are. Basic tenets of social work, right? Meet people where they are and then help them get a hand up from there.
Right. Now, basically, how I understand it, in Orange County, and it's different in every county, so people, if they're in a different county, they have to research what's happening there. But we have certain organizations that are actually for emergency situations, like emergency housing or safe homes. And you mentioned a few others.
Yes, and both Honor Emergency Housing and Safe Homes do really wonderful jobs in providing the stopgap measures, the safety, the comfort, the respect, the dignity for people who are walking through their door. And what we've established, certainly with Honor, we're both in Middletown, is a permanent housing. So if they have somebody coming out of shelter, we want to make sure that we have permanent housing available for them at that time. And we really, while we serve those who are struggling and living in poverty, we really want to target those who are most needed, or are most underserved. So we provide permanent housing for victims of domestic violence, for those who live with HIV or AIDS, seniors, veterans, and we have available spaces for them to go and to be safe and to have a sense of recovery. I think is the best
And
word for that.
community.
Yes.
Because it's horrible if you've gone through like trauma and then you're by yourself.
Right. And there was a wonderful study published in Upstate that they did. They surveyed, I think, 206 people who would identify either as homeless or who lived in poverty, and how many of those had some type of either sexual or physical trauma before their period of homelessness. And the results were not surprising to those of us who do the work, right? Because we always know that there's something else going on. And we want to make sure that the way we approach things is trauma-informed, victim or person-centered, so that we're not forcing a service on somebody, but they're actually saying, I trust you, I've built a relationship with you, I want your help, and I want you to help me do better.
Right. Now, I understand you also have a food pantry and you work with nutritional foods.
Yes.
So that people are getting healthy foods.
Absolutely. So we have a food pantry that provides food for anybody who comes through the door who may be a little short that month, and whether they're on SNAP or whether they have a job and maybe they just can't make their ends meet, we make sure that we have food for them. The second part of the program is we're beginning a special needs food pantry. So for those who struggle with either high blood pressure or heart disease or diabetes, we want to make sure that we have foods available that can match their dietary needs or restrictions.
That's great.
Yeah. So that's fantastic. We're very, very excited about that.
Now, if somebody wants to find out about your programs, they can just go to your website?
Absolutely. www.recap.org. RECAP is our acronym, and they can call 342-3978, and that would kind of open the doors.
Now the area code
is 845.
845.
342-3978.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, our website really has a great list of all of our programs, how you can be involved, how you can refer. So if I'm struggling with addiction, or my husband is struggling with addiction, I can look at the Recap website, or I can call the office, and then they can be designated. We have a residential and a non-residential treatment facility for those struggling with addiction.
Well, we didn't even talk about that.
Talk
about that a little bit.
Right. So it, again, we have this epidemic in not only the country, but certainly in Orange County, and we have a great bunch of service providers working really hard to try to capture as much as we can in this in particular the opioid epidemic. So Catholic Charities and Honor and we all kind of work in a partnership to make sure that we have services available for those who need to reach out and get the services, which is really important.
And now I understand that a lot of people are becoming needing of the opioid from being treated for pain, and that it can affect anyone.
It can affect anyone, and I think that's the education piece that we have to do, that there is not a stereotypical drug addict. There is not a stereotypical homeless person or a person who's living in poverty. It could be, and may be, the person sitting next to you at a table. Right? So you want to make sure that you have a fully formed view of what that looks like and what you can do to help.
Right.
Rather than, and I had used the phrase before that it's a phrase that irks me to no end, the those people phrase. Oh, it happens to those people. Well, those people can be any one of us. So we want to make sure that we have the information to reach out to somebody who may be embarrassed or who may be humiliated about what's happening to them, and provide a pathway of least resistance to make sure that the journey for help isn't more cumbersome than the journey of being not sober or not housed. So it's how we improve access, reduce barriers, and give those struggling a voice in the process.
Right, and it's confidential.
Of course.
So if someone calls, they don't have to be worried, I'm telling on someone. Or...
No, it's all confidential services, and we respect people's privacy. And if you're telling people, other people's business, people are not going to come to your doors. And it's hard enough to make that first step, so we want to make sure we make it as easy as possible.
Right. Now, I understand you do some things with energy services, so if someone is, living in a home that is, not energy efficient or that has a lot of air going through it.
Yes. We do. I learned a lot about blower doors in our energy services department, because I went out when I first began with Recap to learn kind of the energy services stuff. I am inept, totally inept in trying to figure out how to do those things. However, our staff, who are weatherizers, are really great at what they do. So for the summer, for example, they put air conditioners in house that need air conditioning. In the winter, they make sure the doors are sealed and the windows are sealed and the vents are sealed to make sure that you're keeping all of the warm air in as possible. We change light bulbs and appliances, and it's an income eligibility. So if you're on HEAP or you're on SNAP, which are government assistance programs, you're probably eligible for energy services assistance, which is really exciting. We also have 2 additional programs called Access and Restore. And Access is to help somebody maybe struggling with a disability to make modifications to their home.
Oh, wow.
To widen a door for a wheelchair, or to put in a ramp, or to adapt the bathroom appropriately, to get in and out of a shower or a bathtub. And then our Restore program is to help seniors age at home, which is really important. We work really closely with Amory Maglione and County Executive Newhouse in the Office of the Aging to make sure that our seniors have information about those programs.
Okay, so what do you know? Are you involved with the aging at home, or how?
My role is to make sure that we have a really strong partnership with Office of the Aging, and we do. So the energy services staff and the staff of Office of the Aging, if they get a referral that somebody who is elderly maybe needs a roof or maybe needs a ramp, or they will then refer them to our program. So it's a really nice partnership.
So if you know someone that may be in that situation, and there's a lot of different areas that you service in the environment with everything.
Absolutely. So reach out to Recap or reach out to Office of the Aging, certainly, and we'll be able to help out.
To work together. And your number again?
342-3978.
An area?
845-342-3978.
Okay, and your website?
It is www.recap.org.
Okay, now is there any opportunity if people want to get involved as a volunteer? Or?
Absolutely, we're always looking for people. In particular, we have kind of like a foster grandparent program for our Head Start.
Okay.
So we run the Head Starts in Port Jervis and in the Middletown area and in Scotchtown. And we're always looking for dynamic readers to come in to read to our students. They love having guests. They love having people come in and, I get a lot, do the voices of different books. So
Right.
We really want the community to embrace our Head Starts and to get in there and really kind of engage with the children.
Tell us a little more about the Head Start program, how
Head
that
Start
works.
is probably one of the most effective anti-poverty programs in the country because it really lays the foundation, and we truly believe that education is a pathway out of poverty. And if we can start children really at a young age understanding the value and the importance of education, it will carry them through. So our Head Starts, we serve 184 children a year in our Head Starts, and we don't only service our children with high quality education, we service their families. We have family engagement nights. We do in-services and trainings for our families, and to embrace the different cultures and the different races and ethnicities and religion that come from throughout this amazing area. And bring it into our Head Start so that our children really have a nice foundation to start the rest of their school career.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you, Michele.
I come from an amazing family filled with social workers, in essence. My father and my brother, New York City police officers or Port Authority police officers. My sister was the one lone wolf. She went to work on Wall Street, but we make her do community service in order to bring her back to the fold.
In order to have Thanksgiving dinner.
Exactly, and she cooks it, or her husband cooks it, so it's important. But my mother worked at Camp LaGuardia, which was a homeless shelter in Chester for 25 years. So I think I had it in my blood to give back and be thankful for what I had been given in my life.
Yep.
So I have a master's degree in social work. So I have found a path of social justice that I embrace and that I love. And I've had some amazing bosses along the way, and really interesting female bosses. So Roz Magidson was my boss at the Dispute Resolution Center, who taught me so much and taught me how to be a good leader and a good communicator. And Johnny Wesley Kruger was my first boss at my first real job, and really showed me that I had been living with feminists my entire life and just didn't know it. My grandmother was one of the first buyers in a major department store in the 40s and the 50s, and didn't know anything about that. And my mother, worked when she was able to, and my father, who was also an avowed feminist, embraced equality.
Right.
So finding work that matched those values became easy. So I worked in Orange County for many, many years. I love my colleagues. I love my friends. I was given the opportunity to become the Chief Executive Officer for the New York State Coalition Against Domestic Violence. And I went up there, and we've got some amazing work done. We passed fair access in the courts while I was up there. We made strangulation an offense while we were up there, because up until 2010 or 2011 it wasn't a criminal offense on its own right.
Wow.
So that we worked really closely with Senator Schneiderman, now Attorney General Schneiderman, to make that a law, and we were really proud of the work. And I love the work I did up there, but I loved being home. My family is here.
Yeah.
So when I came home, I worked a little bit with Nora Chrono Presentation Academy out of the city of Newburgh. While I was there, I was approached by RECAP, and they said, "Hey, you want to come over and play with us for a little while?" And I said, "Absolutely." I had worked with RECAP very closely while I was here. Love the work they do. Love the people who do it. And it was just a natural and perfect fit. So.
Well, I've met some of the people from RECAP, and they're very warm
Yes.
and caring
Yes.
and very efficient in what
Yes.
they do. So if there's anyone out there that needs to have any of these services, please call.
Absolutely. And my direct line is 845-421-6267. So if anybody needs to reach out and get information, or want to volunteer, or have a private question that they, just want to ask confidentially, I always give out my direct line. So, please feel free to call and reach out for services.
cool. And then tell us a little bit about the Nora Cronin Presentation School.
So Nora Cronin Presentation Academy, we're celebrating our 10th academic anniversary, and we provide a free education for young girls, 5th through 8th grade, who live in the city of Newburgh, whose parents live under the poverty line and who are designated at risk. And at risk for, it could be just living in poverty or living in their neighborhood. So we provide this safe space for them, and we have an extended day, an extended year program to make sure that the girls, are at school until 5 o'clock, and they come all through July and part of August to make sure that their summer days are filled with really some amazing academic and social programming. We've had the Hudson Valley Shakespeare players over to visit them. They learned how to do the DNA of a strawberry. They had the climate New York Times writer who had just had an audience with the Pope come over and speak with them for a while. They're amazing, amazing young women, and the people who run this school are heaven sent. They do this unbelievably worthwhile program for $400,000 a year. They get no federal, state, local, parish, archdiocese money to do this. It's all really just grants and donations. And 100% of the girls who have graduated from Nora Cronin have graduated from high school, and 100% of them have gone on to college and or a vocational school.
Percentage.
And 43% or 47% of those girls have gotten college scholarships. So we are really proud. This is actually outcome-based, results-driven anti-poverty
So
programming.
anyone that says that, if you're in poverty, that you're a certain kind of person, it doesn't have to do with anything about you as a person.
No.
It has to do with your circumstance.
Yes, and the opportunities.
And that's the opportunity. And that's absolute proof.
Yes.
Of that.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely, and it goes back to education is a pathway out of poverty. So if we can stop a cycle of intergenerational poverty through a free education for 5th through 8th grade girls, there's no reason not to do it. So
Right.
I'm really proud to be affiliated with Nora Cronin, and they do some pretty amazing work.
Now, what is the line of poverty? What is that?
So it varies, but it's what a family of four subsists on or make an income, and then the poverty rates differ in different places. So
Okay.
the poverty rate for single-headed for women-headed households with children in the city of Newburgh is 59%.
Okay.
So 59% of women and children who live in the city of Newburgh, where women are the heads of the household,
Right.
live in poverty, and that is an astounding number. And we need to put programming in place, make
Right.
sure that there's access to education in order to reduce that number significantly.
Exactly. And tell us a little bit about your fundraising events that they can find out about.
So for recap, we have a very, very highly entertaining bowling event coming up in September, which I am trying to get bowlers on my team because I am not a very good bowler. So I don't want to lose either. So I would like some really good bowlers on my team. So if anybody's interested, again, please see me.
A bowler that doesn't like losing.
Exactly. That's what I need on my team. More importantly, we also have a golf outing for recap coming up on September 16th. And I am a worse golfer than I am a bowler. So if anybody can golf with me, that would also be really helpful. But all of the funds raised go right back into programming.
Right.
So the bowling outing directly impacts all of those funds go back into our nutrition and our food pantry and our advocacy program. And then the golf outing certainly supports all of the programming.
And
for
all
rest
of the
agency.
information on these fundraisers is on the website.
It is www.recap.org, so you can find out and register for all of the events.
And what's the Nora Cronin website?
Nora Cronin is www.noracroninpresentationacademy.org, and that is 845-569-0708.
So, Michele, what do you think are some of your greatest challenges moving forward, especially in this political environment?
Well, there are many of them, and it certainly gives me great concern when we start talking about cutting what is kind of thrown around loosely as entitlement programs, that SNAP is an entitlement program. It's not an entitlement program, it's a food program to feed those who can't feed themselves. So I am really concerned about the social justice aspect of kind of the rhetoric that is talked about. I get very concerned about this thought that we're going to cut programming, we're going to cut Head Start, we're going to cut things that are proven to work in order to make a point to a very small segment of a population that thinks that poor people are, sucking the marrow out of the American fiber or the American fabric. That's not what's happening. Programs like Recap, programs that serve homeless like Honor, programs like Catholic Charities, all we are trying to do is help people help themselves. And until those who make the decisions around budgets and funding really can embrace the idea and educate themselves on what poverty looks like, we'll continue to be concerned. And I don't think it's a Republican or a Democrat issue. It's a human issue. Do we want our children fed? Of course. Do we want an educated populace? Of course. How do we go about doing that? Could be two different tracks. But the bottom line is we have to take care of those who can no longer or who cannot take care of themselves. And if we start to drift away from those principles, I'm really concerned in the direction that then we'll go. We really need to embrace the fact that not everyone has the same opportunities as everyone else. Not everybody has the same access that everyone else has. So how do we broaden the access to programs and services and opportunities? How do we reduce the barriers for people who are experiencing challenges, whether it is an addiction challenge, whether it is a mental health challenge, whether it is a challenge of trauma? How do we provide services in a way where the taxpayers aren't saying, hey, those are my dollars you're using, and those who need the services feel dignity, they are served with dignity and respect.
Exactly.
And I believe we have a wonderful social services program in Orange County who try to capture those most in need. And I do hear the calls about rooting out fraud and making sure that we're addressing those issues, but we never want to look at one end or the other end without understanding that most people are caught in the middle, right? Very few people in an entirety commit fraud on purpose. I was working with a young woman who had some cognitive difficulties, and she filled out a SNAP form and turned it in, and we didn't know she was turning this in, and she ended up being arrested for SNAP fraud, which is food stamps.
Right.
And she wasn't trying to commit fraud. She just didn't know how to fill out a form.
Right.
And if you have not had the same educational opportunities as everybody else, if you have a cognitive or a processing issue,
Right.
you may have trouble filling out those
Exactly.
forms. And we want to make sure we're providing support
Right.
for somebody who is not doing anything wrong on purpose, but they're doing it because of circumstance. Now, for those who are committing fraud with
Right.
intent and with malice, yes, go after them, figure it out.
Definitely.
But there are more people in the gray area
Because
than are in
they're
the black
taking
area or
they're
white area.
taking away from the people that need the program.
Of course.
For their own self gain, and they should be gone
Yes.
after.
And I think helping certainly our leaders, our politicians, understand who lives in poverty, what poverty looks like, and the difficulties that come with poverty. We have a poverty simulator that we'll be doing in the fall, and it allows those who don't necessarily live in poverty or haven't disclosed that they live in poverty to travel through the system of poverty: social services, law enforcement, health care, all of those different systems, to figure out the difficulties in those systems.
Yeah.
And I really encourage everybody to take a poverty simulation to figure out what it's like to not know where your next $10 is coming from.
So they can join that by just calling?
Absolutely. They can go to, the date is, we're working on the date and the location, but if you keep checking back to the recap.org website,
Right.
all the information will be on that.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Sam.